each of these services are in the implementation of the plan and the achievement of the objectives.
Correct. Yeah, it was a multi-agency integrated structure, and which was prosecutor-led and coordinated through by all the departments that were represented at IMC level.
And then the next topic that you deal with in your statement is the development and approval of the PKTT strategic framework. And commencing from paragraph 70, you deal with a recommendation that had been made for the adoption of an implementation plan. And you indicate in paragraph 71 that you participated as a member of the team in the process that led to the recommendation of that PKTT implementation plan. And you indicate that that plan is dated.
Tactical Joint Operation Centers, commanders, and the respective zone or unit leads. These leaders were responsible for managing operations within their designated areas and ensuring that actions were aligned with the overall objective of the PKTT. Oversight of the PKTT's activities was provided by the National Steering Committee, which comprised of senior officials from relevant law enforcement agencies as well as representatives from, not from IMC. It was only the relevant officials from law enforcement agencies. The committee convened regularly to assess progress, address challenges, and ensure that the team's effort remain focused on its defined mandate.
And if I can just summarize 74 and 75, deal with the operational model which you set out in parts earlier on. And then in 75, it's the identification of specific operational challenges and the goal that was sought to be achieved is something that you've already testified on. If I can ask you to then move to the next topic, being the work of the PKTT, commencing from paragraph 76.
Thanks, Commissioners. Since the PKTT was established as a task team, the National Commissioner ultimately had to approve the PKTT's budget. As part of his budget approval process, the project leader, Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo, would prepare an information note which would be verified by the Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Mkonazi, and thereafter submitted for recommendation and approval. This information note was essentially a request for extension of the term of the team. When it was established, the PKTT's term was initially 6 months. Therefore, in order for it to continue operating, its term had to be extended for a further 6 months, and budget has to be allocated.
Sorry, if I can then just perhaps to deal with what comes after that, because it deals with aspects that you've already testified. Contained in the information notes. We dealt with one example earlier where a motivation is outlined. The plan by way of objectives is also dealt with together with the budget and the time frame for which the approval related. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you've also spoken earlier on about the principle of reporting, which was intended to ensure that there was transparency and accountability in respect of the operations of the PKTT. Is that correct?
That is correct, Commissioner.
And you also indicated your participation in that process for requesting a budget, identifying the term of the extension and the priorities that were going to be addressed. Correct?
That is correct, Commissioner.
Yes. Then if I can ask you to move to paragraph 79, where you say, when I was appointed as the National Commissioner.
Thanks, Commissioner. Maybe before I move there, let me just also explain that the team's mandate was extended from 6 months to another 6 months and eventually a year. But then eventually we had to make it permanent. Why it happens that way was that during the first 6 months and the second 6 months, the courts, or whether it's the lawyers or the accused, they will postpone their cases and request a postponement beyond the team's mandate, so that by the time the cases come to court, the team is no more there. So that forced us to end up then saying announcing that the team is permanent, because otherwise cases were not being tried. They would want to know when are they going back once they are given the date beyond that. So hence we then make the team to say it will be permanent until the political killings subside. Going to paragraph 79, when I was appointed as the National Commissioner in 2022, I was responsible for approving extensions and budget for PKTT. Attached here what I refer to as the Financial Authority from June 2018 to June 2025. The relevant deal with the June 2025 approval in more detail when events that occurred post the handing over of the one-to-one dockets that have become known to all South Africans.
Sorry, I can hear me now.
Yes, thanks.
General, the extensions, the various extensions, and then the one where the PKTT's term was made permanent, did those require ministerial approval or IMC approval?
No, they did not need the IMC approval. It only required the National Commissioner, based on what the work that you see, the National Commissioner to approve those extensions.
Thank you. And I think perhaps just if we can deal with SFM3 to make one reference correction in the annexures, where after all the annexures follow the sequence as contained or referenced in your statement. If I can ask you to turn to the second file, SFM3, on page 133. You will see from 133 to 149, that refers to the document that you seek to reference in paragraph 79. Yes, until 149.
That is correct.
And then you will see after 149 to 150. Sorry, from 150 to 153. That is a different document, and you'll see when we get to the next paragraphs from 81 to 82. That SFM4 is the document at 150 to 153. So that I just want that to be corrected for the record in terms of that one reference in your statement. then we'll deal with SM4 in the next section.
Okay.
So SFM3 is supposed to go from 133 to 149. Yes, and then SFM4, you'll see it starts, if you go to paragraph 81 of your statement, you speak of the March 24 information note, and that is the one that commences at 150. If you look at paragraph 5 of 150, you'll have 24 to 25 there. And if you go to the signature page at 152, you'll see that's the March 2024 document.
Okay.
I assume this will necessitate movement of the flags.
Movement,
Mr.
yes.
Mutau. So,
Perhaps what could be done is the one should be labeled as, but I mean, we'll address that probably SFM 3.1, and then it doesn't affect the rest of the sequence.
all right. We'll
Yes.
leave it to your juniors to attend.
To attend to it, yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mutau.
Thank you.
Mr. Mutau, sorry, before you proceed, on a quick scanning of your SFM3,
Yes.
it looks like different periods of requests for extensions.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yes.
I think it'd probably be helpful for the record if you would indicate the first extension date, it's pages so and so, and then the next extension date,
Okay.
pages so and so.
Yes, we'll do so.
Thank you.
And can I just request that I come back to that at a later stage? Because in paragraph 79, it just simply references the fact that those extensions commence from June
Okay.
2018 to June 2025. I'll just make sure that the extensions are identified in accordance with the request. Okay. Thank you. General, then if we can then come back to your statement. In 81, you deal with, sorry, perhaps before we start with 81, in paragraph 80, and perhaps if you could just give an overview of the points that you seek to make in paragraph 81 in relation to the extension of the mandate of the political task team to cover the killing of traditional leaders in KZN.
Thanks, Commissioners. Although initially the team was mandated to work in KwaZulu-Natal, later the team's mandate was extended to the Eastern Cape province to deal most specifically matters that and other related cases at the Fort Hare University. And they were quite very successful in that regard. And during March 2024, the team's mandate was once again extended. A decision was taken to extend the mandate and also appointing Kumalo further as the project leader for the financial year. The mandate of the team was extended from 1st April 2024 to include the investigation of cases involving the killing of traditional leaders. This was an outcry that the minister did by then. Minister Cockton and Minister Police indicated that these traditional leaders, as they understand also the presidency, that these cases needs to be prioritized. And I then decided that I extend the mandate of the team to also include cases of traditional leaders. There were parallel major investigations that were still ongoing, like killings at Fort Hare University. There was a potential risk that the courts involving political related cases, especially 49 trial ready cases and 82 cases that were under investigation at the time, may collapse if we withdraw the team. Incidents of political related cases were expected to increase as we are approaching the elections in 2024 due to unstable coalition governments at various municipalities, especially in KwaZulu-Natal.
Okay. And then in paragraph 84, you deal with an invitation from the president for the PKTT to brief, or rather for him to receive a briefing in respect of the operations and the successes of the PKTT at that point. If I can ask you to deal with that, paragraph 83.
Yes.
General, maybe before you, sorry, Mr. Mtao, before you answer the question, in paragraph 81, the extension of the mandate to cover University of Fort Hare and the traditional leaders, who made that decision to extend?
I made that decision
Okay.
because of the outcry that was there.
Can I ask a follow-up question? My understanding is that there were various task teams throughout the country. Why specifically the PKTT? What was it about it?
When the killings did happen, yes, there was the provincial commissioner did put a task team to do investigation, but as we have seen there is no progress, then the reason why we called the PKTT is because of its nature of success. You could see that, if I may go to Fort Hare, the Fort Hare cases were being investigated by the province of Eastern Cape, the SAPS in the Eastern Cape, including the DPCI in that province for quite some time, over a year or so. And there wasn't much of success. And because of this team, one knows how successful it is in most cases. Then we asked that they assist in the Eastern Cape. And indeed, within a short space of time, they were able to resolve most of the cases at the university. Normally, people say that where you have the Khumalo investigating, if there is a case, definitely you will face the full might of the law. So in this case also it proved that way. Thank you.
And when we deal with the documents later, we will show that in respect of both these extensions, the presidency was contacted, both in relation to the extension of the mandate of the PKTT to include the matters at the University of Fort Hare and in the Eastern Cape, and in relation to the killings of traditional leaders. And you will explain at that point, with reference to those documents, what the reference to the presidency and how that cascaded, if at all, from that to yourself in respect of implementation. But I don't want to in your evidence. If then you can proceed subject to the commissioners, their questions, to deal with the briefing of the president at the Durban airport following his request.
Yeah, it was. There was an invitation from the president. He was for other work in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and he invited the team on 17 March at Durban airport, and members of the team, together with myself and the minister, did brief the president on the work of the team. This was the last briefing finalized. Finalized means either guilty or no guilty or alternative dispute resolution, whatever the outcome of will it be. The outcome of this highlights both the complexity and the challenges, still more time.
But perhaps if you could just shed some light to the commission, what is it that is complicated about investigating these or prosecuting these politically related cases?
What it entails is that you have somebody, we call it a hit orderer, somebody that orders that somebody be killed, and they have to procure a hitman, which is Nkabi. You must somewhere procure also a firearm, and then at some point, then get the firearm to the Nkabi and make sure that then the hit is undertaken. So to link all those people.
Sometimes procure spotters as well.
Yeah, sometimes they procure spotters that will check where are the people. So after the killing, sometimes complex, difficult to link those that have got invented some new modus operandis in terms of how they deal with. But I wouldn't say because it will educate others. So that's how complex it was. And in some cases, especially of cases of intimidation and attempted murders, councillors will go as far as getting into their cars and say somebody must shoot, but just make sure you shoot just on the shoe, don't shoot too deep on the bone. And in that process, sometimes because the person is in the boot, you shoot from outside, always an accident happens, then they get seriously injured. And that was done purely to derive to fight for protection, to say one's bodyguard, I've been shot at. But when investigations at later stage, sometimes it reveals that no, but where you say there was a shooting, it was only you and the protector who was there, or it was somebody, not a protector. So then they will then confess that, yeah, no, I wanted to make sure that I get a budget from municipality for protection. That's how at length they went. So that's why I say these cases are quite complicated.
Okay. And the intervention should be equally sophisticated to deal with them.
Yes, also, yes, the intervention, because if you use local police, sometimes they know local politicians. It becomes much more easier and for them maybe to be swayed or persuaded in the investigation. Hence, we use members from other provinces. We know it's expensive, but it's worth it because if you use local police, it's always a problem. And I must say, after the team was there, a lot of people that needed to know the work of the team was quite a lot of them. And we were briefing based on who wants to know what, not briefing everybody on what the team was doing.
And then, in essence, between paragraph 86 to 90, you continue to set out the statistics that highlight the successes of the PKTT. I don't need you to deal with those because the commission presented the PKTT's successes.
On paragraph 86 was that, well, we know that the team was successful, commissioners in doing his work. So on the 6th of March, there was invitation for the minister to go and discuss the disbandment plan. You would recall that the minister issued the letter on 31st December to disband the team. So I did seek audience immediately thereafter, which it never come quicker. If ever we met on other matters, but not on this one. So 6 March, the purpose was to discuss the disbandment plan. But then we then put also a summary of the success of what the team has done, even though we know that it was sent to the minister's report of the 20th of January. The aim was, of course, also to maybe convince him to think otherwise about the team at this particular
General,
meeting.
Sorry to interrupt you. Not at all questioning your assertion with regard to success, but I just want to understand it. You referred to 612 dockets.
This is nice, and I'd love to have this.
Yeah.
Lieutenant General Kumalo is going to deal with this issue in more detail.
That's
Did I
correct.
understand you correctly?
That's correct, Commissioner. He will deal with the details of that.
And he will provide those statistics.
Heartburn is caused by stomach acids rising. Gaviscon double action neutralizes these.
says as at February 2025, which is a year later, the PKTT has 612 dockets. What is that an indicator of the growth in dockets? Is it a question of the numbers? Because it's like a 50%, nearly 50% increase in dockets in 1 year.
Yeah, it's an increase from 329 to then the current, which is 612. Is an increase of extra allocation of dockets.
So as at the time that the minister makes the decision to disband, you're now dealing in the region.
Thank you. We're about to touch on paragraph 86, and you were dealing with reference to a meeting of 6 March 2025, which we know, which you say you will deal with it in detail a little later. But you, in this paragraph, you talk about a presentation of the statistics that were presented to the minister at that meeting, and those statistics are the ones that I didn't deal with earlier on. If you go over the page, 27. There is what you call a detailed breakdown of the 333 dockets. You see that? And
Yes, Commissioner.
yes, and you deal with them from 86.1 to 86.5, and then you see that
Yes.
from 87.1 until 87.3. That's how you deal with the allocation of the 333 dockets.
Yes, Commissioner.
And then in paragraph 88, you deal with the 18 dockets that pertained to the incidents of killings at the University of Fort Hare. And you break those down into 14, 2, and 2. You see that?
Correct, Commissioner.
And then in paragraph 89, you deal with the team having been further allocated 51 dockets that are associated with MEDAS targeting traditional leaders. And you break those down into 48 and 3. You see that?
Correct.
Please hold your thought. Don't forget where you were, Mr. Mutau.
Thank you.
General, can you please explain the 333 dockets at the top of page 27? Where does that number come from? The last number that had been referred to was the 612 at 84.1, and then at 86, just before 86.1, there's reference to 333 dockets. Where does that come from?
The 333, if I go back and look at it, it will come from the same 612. It's not an extra number above 612. It comes from the same 612. What I need to just probably go and check back is the 297, because as to the 297 and the 333.
Perhaps if you turn to page 411, it might assist.
For 11.
411.
Mr.
That's under SFM 12.
Mr. Mdau, I realize that we didn't give your bundles any name, and I'm worried that the record might just struggle you moving between the two bundles, and it's not clear for purpose of the record that now you're referring to a different bundle.
So, Commissioner,
What we-
so
what
we had
we
said file
do-
1 and file 2.
So
And
we
maybe-
can't say neither.
Yeah, maybe for uniformity, what we did, sorry, my co-commissioner, what we did with General Mkwanazi's files, we call them Mkwanazi 1 and Mkwanazi 2. So perhaps we should, for uniformity, do something similar here. And for the statement, we call that Masemula 1, and then the annexures Masemula 2. And then when council refers to them, you do the same. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
The commissioners?
Commissioner.
Yes, National Commissioner, I directed you perhaps in that discussion with the chair regarding 333 dockets to page 411 of Masemula 2. And then perhaps you could explain it from there.
Okay, thanks, commissioners. If you go to Masemula 2, ne?
Yes. And also bearing in mind what the chair's question is. The
Yes.
chair's question is relative to the number of 612 that you had provided as being the total number of dockets. Where does 333 come in
Correct.
or fit?
So if you go to it's SFM 12 on page 412, right at the bottom left, you'll find the 612 dockets. Totally, that was allocated to the team. That is the total. And then when you go to page 411 of the same document, on the top left corner, you'll find the 333 cases. And if you look at the topic of that is political related cases. There were 333 totally for the whole period. And then the breakdown comes there. Just the writing is not so good.
So which one are you looking at? You want to deal with parallel cases or you want to deal with ad hoc cases?
The breakdown of the 333 is on the
Yes, on the top column.
Yeah, on the top column, there is 53, 3, 2, 1, 1, 7, 4, 6, 11. So what I was saying was that the top on top are just not readable, but that's where the 333 refers to political related cases of the 612. And then the 90 below refers to parallel cases of the same 612. And then the 120 on the on the same page is ad hoc cases, 120 of the same one, of the same 612.
But perhaps to assist the commission, what are parallel cases and what are ad hoc cases?
Parallel cases,
I'm aware that you said General Kumalo will
Yes.
give more detail on this, but
Yeah.
the commissioners need the information now to make sense of
Yes.
these numbers.
Parallel cases are those cases where they will find that their suspect, beside them investigating him for political related case, they find that this fellow have also committed, let's say, robbery somewhere. Either a robbery of common robbery then that case will be, is not political related. So meaning it's not necessarily the mandate of this team, but they are investigating this suspect. Then they will take that case to make it as a parallel case.
Okay.
And then also are those cases that are necessarily not political related, but the same accused might have been arrested for possession of illegal firearm. At a different police station or in an unrelated matter. But then the team, in order to bring these cases together, to know better their client, then they will take those cases and investigate them. So those cases are not political related, but their client is involved in those cases. And then traditional leadership cases.
This is over the page at 412.
Yeah, if you turn the page
Yeah,
from
412.
411 to,
Just over the page.
yes. Traditional related cases relate to killings of traditional leaders, be it the Nkosis and the Indunas. And not necessarily killings alone, it might also mean attempted murders and so on. And then University of Fort Hare cases, those were cases of murder and fraud and corruption and so on at the University of Fort Hare. And the last column is the overall total of 612. But I must go back to the parallel cases and the ad hoc cases. I would want to leave that also more specifically for General Khumalo to come and explain the detailed difference between the two. Don't want to conclude on that one.
Yes, but
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mutao. This clarifies it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Um,
Thank you to you as well, General.
Thanks, Commissioner.
General, in paragraph 90 of your statement, the last sentence, you say the PKTT has an unmatched success rate. Now, I want to bring you back to paragraph 84, perhaps to further clarify the question that the chair was asking. If one is really looking at 612 dockets, and of those, 297 were finalized, it would appear just on the face of that there are less cases that were finalized than the cases that had been allocated. You see that? Because if you just look at 612 and subtract 297 from that number,
Correct.
it would be less than half the total number of dockets.
Correct.
And I think it is in that context that the chair is asking the question to say, how do you then measure success, particularly with reference to the point you make in paragraph 86 and the last sentence that I referred you to in paragraph 90 of your...
Factoring into that, the fact that finalization does not mean convictions only. There are several categories under that term. So the 297 in terms of conviction is even reduced further, as it were. So please respond to those questions.
Thanks, Commissioner. The finalization in this regard will recall that the dockets of at Fort University, there has been arrest made. Those cases are still at court, have not yet finalized, because the trial of this type of cases take long. And also take into account that I think it was over 51 of the traditional leaders' dockets. The team only took those dockets in 2024. So there couldn't have been more move in terms of investigation of those cases. So, and it doesn't mean that they might have made a lot of arrests, but the cases will still be at court and not finalized, as we mean in terms of conviction. So that's the difference. It's not expected that if they've got 612 dockets, there shall be 612 convictions. No, it doesn't work that way. They might have made arrests, but cases take time. We can refer to this very same year. We might have seen a number of convictions coming from the very same cases of the team that comes a long way.
So perhaps it may be shortchanging the PKTT to focus on convictions only. I would imagine that, and I think it is stated somewhere in your affidavit, there may be instances where there is no movement at all in terms of detection and arrests. But upon the PKTT taking over, there's suddenly movement in that regard. And you get arrests and you get people appearing in court. So it may not necessarily lead to convictions in the end, but the fact that suddenly there's movement,
Correct.
does make a difference.
That's correct, Commissioner. Especially if we look at the Fort Hare one, there was no movement at all. But after the team intervened, people were arrested, people were brought at court. So then the cases are still in the process at the court.
Of course, one assumes that the arrests would not be arrests for the sake of it, and that it would be arrests that are justified in the circumstances.
Yes, correct, Commissioner.
Mr. Madawi, if I may, you, General, in that paragraph 90 rather, you say that the PKTT has an unmatched success rate. Obviously, you and the minister disagree. In his letter, we know he says that it adds no value, or some language to that effect. Now, when you say the success is unmatched, what are your comparators? What is your point of reference against which you are comparing to say the success of the team is unmatched?
Yeah, it will be difficult to match the work of the team with a province or a district because they work across. When one uses that word unmatched, is that there is cases that they would have been dead with no progress. But once you get this team into that case, you will see movement, you'll see arrests. Like, let's go back, I think somewhere we talk about a number of cases which the team had somewhere in 2018, which come from the previous team with very little success. But after this team was then put into work, they were able to make a breakthrough in a lot of those cases. The next example in point is the Fort Hare. Like I was saying, some of the fraud cases there in Fort Hare, the DPCI has been investigating them for more than a year, and we haven't had a breakthrough. But after we got this team at Fort Hare, there was a progress on murders, frauds, and corruption. So that's what one refers to, that they bound to make a breakthrough. We can go as far as in Gauteng province, where we had cases of murders and drugs related, which after the team seek the Gauteng team seek assistance of KwaZulu-Natal, and we allowed 10 members of the political killings task team to assist Gauteng. They started making a breakthrough, and also they unraveled more than what the team in Gauteng would have found. So that, in its case, in its nature, we are saying that the team is a success. If the KwaZulu-Natal political killings task team members didn't come to Gauteng, we would not have the current rate of unraveling, the arrest of Abu Mulefe, the arrest of Abu Ket, and of course there's still others on the line that still needs to be processed. So by saying that their success is unmatched, that's what we refer. But then saying on the minister's letter that he assessed and there was no value, I don't know what that statement is come from. I don't know the assessment, when, where was it done, with who, I don't know. Well, probably that may come later, but I don't know what assessment was done. But what we know is what I'm sure everybody knows, everybody sees. A lot of convictions that are happening even now for cases, and the team is still doing its work, and they are quite successful.
And we'll deal with that part when you deal with your interaction with the minister. But one of the things that you mentioned there is that there are 3 people who had information that is relevant in respect of the activities of the PKTT, and you say it is yourself, General Khumalo, and General Mkhwanazi, and that none of you were consulted by the minister to receive a briefing on the activities of the task team. Without necessarily going into detail, because I know that we will deal with that issue, but perhaps you could just highlight very briefly that point with reference to with Commissioner Baloyi's question based on the minister's letter and what the minister says.
Okay, thanks, Commissioners. With regard to that, in the letter where the minister says, after assessment, the team is not adding value to SAPS or to the country. I can't recall the exact wording. I'm sure for one to come to that conclusion, yes, you must have done assessment. And when you do assessment, obviously you will talk to people that are dealing with the matter at hand. In this case is the PKTT. So in order for one to have had briefing of the PKTT, the minister would have definitely have briefing from General Mkhwanazi, or have briefing from Dumisani Khumalo, or a briefing from myself. To an extent, maybe 30% maybe should have had briefing from Lieutenant General Libya, because Lieutenant General Libya at some point he headed the National Steering Committee, but it didn't go far. He left it. So he wouldn't know the complete work of the team. There is no way he will know it. So then to come to that conclusion without having this briefing, I wonder who briefed him, because that's for sure I know. There is nobody that knows the work of the team than those, unless you go to the junior commanders of the team, which we inquired, and that is not the case. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we'll come back to that issue when like I indicated, we deal with your statement in relation to the interactions that you had with the minister, and when in relation to the minister's decision of 31 December, where those engagements held. But if I can just perhaps touch on one aspect in relation to the activities of the PKTT. And I'm aware that Major General Khumalo will deal with that aspect, among other things, when he goes into detail regarding the aspects that you mentioned earlier is the difference between getting to the hitman and getting to the mastermind. And one of the methods through which the PKTT operates is that it does not deem it sufficient to merely arrest the hitmen, and that there may be instances where they do know who the hitmen are, but in order to resolve the crimes, the crime in its entirety, they may decide not to arrest the hitmen that are known because they want to get to the bigger fish, for lack of a better description. If you could just perhaps touch on it, because earlier on you as you're distinguishing the different role players, one of the models upon which the PKTT operates is that one. If I can just ask you to very briefly touch on it.
Yeah, thanks, commissioners. Well, investigation, as the team do investigation, they apply a lot of strategies. At some point, they'll throw their dockets together and allow them to swim, and so that they can see which direction should they go without rushing to get to arrest the hitmen, because sometimes if they do that, they will lose the rest of the chain. So sometimes they will identify some spotters and start with them in order to get to the mastermind, or use even the hitmen for information purposes and collection. So they were applying various methodologies which are legal, and there is nothing wrong or illegal in them. But their strategies, was that they wouldn't just rush to arrest a specific person for the sake of arresting. They will investigate their cases thoroughly and determine in the whole value chain of the hit orderer, the spotters, the one that procure the firearm, the Ngabe, they will determine where to start, which way to move forward or move backwards. So they will always use those strategies. That's how the team became successful.
I was going to ask you that are those considerations relevant in determining the success and the statement that you make when you say their success rate is unmatched?
Yeah, indeed, it does also indicate it does talk to them being successful, because they do untangle sometimes cases that would have been closed as either become cold case or they are not resolved.
I think we can just leave that aspect. Major General Khumalo will deal with it as the person with the details. If I can then ask you to turn to page 29, your paragraph 91. of Masemula 1. You deal there with the point that the IMC was regularly briefed on the progress and success of the PKTT, and you attach the different presentations that were made to the PKTT on 3 August 2018 until 6 September 2023. And those are attached as Annexure SFM 6. Is that correct? Yes.
It's correct, Commissioner.
And that, for the benefit of the commission, it starts at pages 191 to 359 of Masemula 2.
Mr. Mudau, will you, with this as well, as we requested previously, please?
Yes, well, yes, I'll do that in line with the earlier request
Okay.
when we deal with